All right, so today we're going into some pretty far out stuff, like out there.
Oh, yeah.
A deep dive into the Galactic Federation.
Okay.
Our source. It seems like an article, maybe a podcast transcript. It's got a very dramatic title.
Mm.
The real reason behind his disappearance. Galactic Federation secret exposed.
All right. Well, this kind of material, it often mixes real-world events with, pure speculation. And it kind of plays on that old fascination we all have with, like, hidden knowledge, powerful forces at work behind the scenes.
Right. So this Galactic Federation, the source claims it's made up of like all these advanced alien civilizations.
Hmm.
And their goal, to oversee how planets like Earth evolve.
Oversee. Okay.
But their big secret is they're supposedly doing all of this without anyone knowing.
So this idea really ties into that human desire to understand our place in the universe.
Right.
But it makes you wonder, what does oversee really even mean? Are they like benevolent guides? Or is this something more manipulative?
Yeah, the source, it doesn't really get into specifics about their methods, but it does mention something about ancient texts and artifacts
Oh, interesting.
depicting star beings
Yeah.
as possible evidence of their influence, throughout history.
That's a common thread in a lot of these theories, this whole trying to connect the dots between ancient mysteries and potential extraterrestrial contact.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to think about how, human history might have been shaped by these forces that we just don't fully understand.
For sure. But the secrecy, that's what gets me.
Yeah.
Why all the secrecy?
Yeah.
If they're so advanced and supposedly want to help us,
Right.
why not just come out and reveal themselves?
Well, according to this source, it's all about control.
Control.
The Galactic Federation supposedly has these secret meetings with world leaders
Oh, wow.
to discuss, extraterrestrial affairs and how to, most importantly, how to keep things running smoothly
Here on Earth.
here on Earth.
Wait, hold on. Are we talking like a cosmic version of backroom deals? Like, instead of politicians and lobbyists, it's world leaders and aliens
Yeah.
hashing out the fate of humanity.
That's a compelling narrative, right?
Yeah.
It plays on that suspicion that we all have, like deep down, that, these powerful figures are making decisions that impact all of us.
Behind closed doors.
Yeah, without our knowledge, our consent.
Yeah.
And in this case, it goes beyond earthly power struggles to a
I-
cosmic scale.
Okay. If they're meeting in secret, what are they discussing? The source mentions these technology exchanges.
Right, technology exchanges. So the source claims that the Galactic Federation, they share this advanced technology with human governments. Clean energy, advanced medicine, even technology that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction. But of course, there's a catch.
Let me guess. It's not all sunshine and roses. What's the trade-off?
Well, according to the source, these technologies, they're traded for power and geopolitical advantage.
Oh.
The implication is that these technologies could help everyone, all of humanity, but they're being withheld or used for the benefit of just a select few.
Okay, now that's just messed up. Imagine we have the technology to solve climate change, cure diseases, but it's being hoarded because of some shady deal with the Galactic Federation. What kind of messed up priorities are those?
It does make you wonder, right? If these technologies really exist, why aren't they being used to address these, like, huge problems facing humanity? Like, what does that tell us about the people in charge, both human and potentially extraterrestrial?
Right, and it makes you think, what's more unsettling, the idea that these technologies are real and being kept from us? Or the thought that we might be capable of developing them ourselves, but we choose not to because of, selfish reasons?
It's a good question. And this source, it also talks about the societal impact of all this secrecy. They use this phrase, societal schizophrenia.
Societal schizophrenia, what does that even mean?
It refers to this kind of disconnect, a split between what's really going on and what the public is allowed to know.
I see.
Think about it. If this, like, crazy advanced technology actually exists, but it's hidden, wouldn't that create a huge gap between, the people who know and everyone else?
Yeah, I guess it would.
Yeah.
But isn't there already like a knowledge gap in our society? I mean, think about all the stuff that happens, behind closed doors in government and research labs. We just don't know about all that information.
That's true, but the source suggests that this gap, it's way more pronounced when you consider this potential, extraterrestrial influence and the suppression of these technologies that could, like, change the world. It's about this fundamental disconnect between the reality that's presented to us and the reality that actually exists behind the curtain, so to speak.
Okay. It's a pretty bleak picture. But is there any way to break out of this? Like, if we're being manipulated by these powerful forces, human or otherwise, is there any hope for change?
The source actually ends on a kind of hopeful note. It suggests that these revelations could lead to, like, a new era of transparency and global cooperation.
Really?
Yeah, imagine if we just, like, acknowledge these potential truths and use them to, push for ethical use of technology,
Hmm.
for a more open, more equitable world.
So instead of just freaking out about aliens and conspiracies, we should use this information to try to create a better future.
Yeah, exactly. It all comes down to how we respond to this information. Do we give in to fear and paranoia, or do we use it as, like, a catalyst for positive change?
Okay, we've covered a lot. Secret societies, alien technology, the fate of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
My head's officially spinning. But before we go any further down this rabbit hole, let's just, take a minute to digest all of this. When we come back, we'll explore the potential future implications of these revelations and what it all means for, our place in the cosmos. Don't go anywhere. Okay, so we're back and ready to kind of dive a little deeper into this whole Galactic Federation thing. Last time, we were talking about those secret technology exchanges. And the source specifically mentioned things like free energy,
Yeah.
advanced medicine. So let's unpack those a bit further.
Okay, so let's start with free energy. The source, it claims that the Galactic Federation has this technology that could provide clean, like limitless energy
Yeah.
for the whole planet. Imagine a world without fossil fuels. No more dependence on polluting energy sources.
That would be game changer. No more climate change worries, no fighting over oil reserves. It almost sounds too good to be true.
Right?
But if it's real, why are we still stuck with coal and gas? What's the holdup?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, right? The source, it suggests that this technology, it's being, like, intentionally suppressed.
Suppressed, okay.
It claims that world leaders are basically trading the well-being of the planet for their own power and control.
That's a pretty cynical take, but it does kind of line up with what we see in the real world. We've seen how powerful interests can really stall progress when it threatens, their bottom line. But on a global scale, with alien technology in the mix, that's a whole new level of disturbing.
It really raises some tough questions about power, right? Like, about the choices that people in power make. The source also mentions advanced medical technology, things like cures for, diseases that are incurable right now, genetic therapies that could extend human lifespans, even technology that sounds like it's from a sci-fi movie.
So we're talking about potentially eradicating diseases, extending human life. It's kind of mind-boggling to think about.
Yeah.
But again, if this tech exists, why isn't it being used to help people?
The source, it paints a picture of a world where these advancements, they're being hoarded, used for the benefit of a select few, or maybe even weaponized.
Weaponized.
Yeah, imagine a world where only the elite have access to life-extending treatments, while everyone else, struggles with disease and aging. It's a pretty dystopian scenario.
Yeah.
And it's actually not that far-fetched if you consider the inequality we already have in healthcare today.
Right. It's like they're teasing us with the possibility of a better future.
Yeah.
But that future is being held back by, greed and power. It's incredibly frustrating.
The source goes even further. It suggests that these technologies are being used to develop these advanced surveillance systems, like systems of control. Imagine a world where your thoughts, your movements, even your emotions are being monitored, manipulated.
Okay, now that's straight out of a science fiction nightmare. But even if we forget about the aliens, just the idea that tech could be used in such an invasive way, it's a chilling thought.
It's important to remember that technology, by itself is neutral. It's all about how we use it. That's what determines its impact. The source is basically arguing that we're at a crossroads, will we use these advancements to, uplift humanity? Or will we allow them to be used for, control, oppression?
So it's not just about the technology, but about the ethics, the values we prioritize. But how do we even start to deal with these questions when the whole situation is, shrouded in secrecy?
That's a really good point. The source argues that the first step is awareness. We need to shine a light on these issues, demand transparency from our leaders, and we need to start talking about the kind of future we want to create.
So it's about us taking back control, not just accepting what we're told, but questioning things, demanding more from the people in charge.
Exactly. It's about demanding a seat at the table when decisions are made about, technology that could affect the future of humanity.
That's a pretty daunting task. But if we don't start asking these questions, who will?
Exactly. The source also talks about societal schizophrenia, which we talked about earlier.
Right.
It suggests that this secrecy, this gap between what we're told and what's really going on, it's creating this, like, collective mental illness.
Okay, I'm still not totally clear on what societal schizophrenia means, like in this context. Can you break that down a little more?
Okay, so think about it this way. If we're constantly bombarded with information that contradicts our experience,
Yeah.
or if we sense that something's really wrong, but we can't, like, figure out what it is,
Hmm.
that creates this feeling of unease, cognitive dissonance.
I see.
It's like living in a world where the ground is constantly shifting under your feet.
Right. It's like feeling disoriented, like you can't trust your own perceptions.
Yeah.
But how does this tie into the whole Galactic Federation thing?
Well, imagine a world where, like, reality itself is being manipulated.
Oh, wow.
Advanced tech exists, but it's hidden. And decisions about humanity are being made in secret, potentially by beings from another planet.
It sounds like a recipe for paranoia and distrust. But wouldn't knowing the truth, even if it's scary, be better than living in a, like, fake reality?
That's exactly what the source is saying. It's about confronting the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is,
Yeah.
and then using that knowledge to try and build a better future.
Okay, so we've talked about the downsides, but let's flip the script for a second.
Hmm.
Let's say, just for argument's sake, that the Galactic Federation, they actually have good intentions.
Mm.
Could there be any, like, benefits to them being involved in human affairs?
That's a fascinating question. It forces us to, like, step outside our own limited view and consider that maybe there are things at work that are, beyond what we can grasp.
Yeah.
But ultimately, maybe they are working for our good.
Okay, so let's play devil's advocate here. What if this whole overseeing thing isn't about control and manipulation, but about guidance and protection?
Okay.
What if they're trying to steer us away from destroying ourselves, like a parent guiding a child?
That's a completely different perspective, isn't it? It challenges us to think that maybe we're not as advanced or wise as we think we are.
Yeah.
Perhaps there are things at play that have a much broader, more cosmic perspective.
Let's be real, we humans don't have the best track record when it comes to making responsible choices, right? Especially with technology.
Sure.
Maybe we do need a little guidance, like a cosmic intervention.
It's a humbling thought, isn't it? But if we accept that possibility, what does it say about free will? Are we really in control? Or are we just actors in a play following a script written by someone or something else?
Ooh, that's getting pretty deep philosophically. I don't know if I'm ready to tackle that one right now. But before we get lost in existential questions, let's just pause for a second. When we come back, we'll explore, what all of this might mean for the future of humanity. Stay with us. All right, so we're back. And I got to say, I'm still processing, everything we've talked about. This Galactic Federation, secret technologies, societal schizophrenia. It's a lot to take in.
It is. But it really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And before we wrap up this whole deep dive, I want to go back to something we talked about earlier. The Galactic Federation's motives.
Okay.
We've talked about the possibility that they're, like, manipulative, even controlling, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what if they're actually, trying to help us?
Yeah.
Even if their methods are a bit, I don't know, shady.
That's the big question, right? It's easy to assume the worst, especially when we're talking about something as unknown and powerful as, a supposed galactic federation.
Right. It's like, we fear what we don't understand.
Exactly.
But let's just say, for argument's sake, that they are benevolent.
Okay.
What would that even look like? How would they go about, guiding a species like us?
Well, the source actually offers some interesting ideas about this. It suggests that the Galactic Federation, they might be operating on a much longer timescale than we're used to.
Okay, so they're playing the long game. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah. Well, think about it. We humans, we tend to think in terms of years, decades, maybe centuries at most.
Right.
But a civilization that's capable of, interstellar travel, they might have a perspective that spans like millennia, eons, even.
Yeah, that makes sense. Their goals might be so long-term that they're willing to wait generations to see them through.
Exactly. And from that perspective, intervening in human affairs, even if it seems manipulative, it might take on a different meaning. Maybe they're not trying to control us, but to, like, nudge us in a certain direction to prevent us from making, catastrophic mistakes.
Okay, I see that. Like a parent letting their kid learn from their mistakes, but stepping in to stop them from doing something really harmful.
Exactly. And if you look at the challenges we're facing right now, Climate change, nuclear weapons, all the social and political unrest.
Yeah.
The idea of a more advanced civilization, like stepping in to prevent disaster, doesn't seem so crazy.
I mean, let's be honest, we haven't exactly been the most responsible species.
Yeah.
Maybe a little cosmic guidance wouldn't hurt.
But it's a tricky balance, right? The idea of a more advanced civilization interfering, it raises all these questions about free will, you know?
Yeah, for sure. But what if instead of seeing it as a threat to our freedom, we saw it as an opportunity?
Yeah.
Like, what if they're not trying to control us, but to help us, evolve into a more responsible species?
That's a really interesting way to look at it. It shifts the focus from fear to, hope and possibility.
Yeah.
The source actually suggests that their ultimate goal, the Galactic Federation's goal, might be to help humanity reach a higher level of consciousness.
Like ascend to a higher plane.
Yeah, to become a part of this, galactic community.
So instead of fearing them, we should see them as, mentors,
Yeah.
guiding us toward cosmic enlightenment.
It's a compelling idea. It challenges us to think bigger, to imagine a future where we overcome our limitations and join a larger, more interconnected society.
I gotta admit, that's a pretty inspiring vision. But it also makes you wonder, what can we do to get ready for that? How do we make ourselves, worthy of joining this galactic club?
Well, the source really emphasizes the importance of inner transformation.
Okay.
It suggests that the key to unlocking our potential is to cultivate qualities like compassion, cooperation, wisdom.
So it's about becoming better, not just technologically, but morally and spiritually too, right?
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're all connected to each other, to the planet, to the cosmos. It's about moving beyond our limited, egocentric view and embracing a more, compassionate way of being.
That makes sense. But it also sounds like a really long and challenging process.
Yeah.
Where do we even start?
It starts with each of us,
Yeah.
making conscious choices every day, choosing kindness over cruelty, practicing empathy.
So it's about taking responsibility for our own evolution, both individually and as a species.
Absolutely. The source suggests that we're at a crucial point in human history. The choices we make now, they'll determine our fate and the fate of future generations.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure.
It is.
But it's also, empowering to think that we have the power to shape our own destiny, to create a future where we can really thrive.
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, our journey is being guided by forces that we don't fully understand, forces that believe in us and are willing to be patient while we figure things out.
Okay, so after all this talk about aliens and conspiracies and everything, I'm feeling a mix of awe and hope. I'm still a little skeptical, but I have to say this deep dive has really opened my mind to some new possibilities.
That's what it's all about, right? Exploration. It makes us question our assumptions, expand our horizons, and embrace the mystery of the universe.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. It's been a wild ride.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, keep exploring, keep asking questions,
Okay.
and don't ever stop searching for the truth.
Wherever it leads.
It's a perfect way to end it. So to all you deep divers out there, keep those minds open, those hearts curious, and those imaginations fired up. You never know what wonders are waiting for us out there in this vast and ever-expanding universe.
Until next time, keep diving deep.